faith. You gotta have it. But really, what does that really look like? I'm sure you've heard the definition of it's believing in something that you cannot see, which is true, but I think there's more to it than that. I see faith as a surrender response to what Jesus has done. In the first verse, the artist is pleading for the Lord's help because she understands that in and of herself, there is nothing she can do without Jesus. We see in Romans 3:23 that we all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Sin is something that goes against what the Lord sees as good. Because God is holy and cannot be in the presence of sin, our sin separates us from being in his presence. And the consequence of it is death, which I'm going to be honest is pretty discouraging to hear. But thankfully, that's not the end of the story. Jesus saw our brokenness, and out of an overflow of love, he came down and left the perfection of heaven to be with his beloved children. While he was here on earth, he lived a life free of sin, being fully God and fully man, and died the death that we deserved by dying on the cross and taking on the wrath of God towards our sin. Not only that, but he defeated death by coming back to life 3 days later. Because the sinless Son of God took on the sins of the whole world, we are seen blameless in his sight if we turn from our sin and believe and put our trust in him. We can hear the gospel and believe it at a superficial level, but it's not until we see it lived out in times of trial that it really sinks in. I've had the privilege to be a part of my cousin Rachel's beautiful life as she battled cancer. She was the picture of true joy, not the joy based on circumstances, the kind that only Jesus can give. Philippians 4:7 tells us that the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and minds in Jesus Christ. As her body was being ravaged by the effects of cancer, she had a peace that could only be explained supernaturally. In fact, whenever she saw one of us crying, as our hearts were breaking, she would roll her eyes and ask why we were crying. She fully understood the words of the bridge. I know that my Savior is walking with me, by my side, in my heart, and in my mind. He is the light of my life that I need to survive, and I know that I am because of him. Her story was evidence that Jesus is worthy of our faith, our trust, and our adoration. She didn't put her identity in being a cancer patient. She put her identity in being a child of God and knowing that Jesus conquered death on her behalf, so she didn't have to fear what her diagnosis could bring. In memory of her meeting her Savior 5 years ago, the chorus of one of her favorite songs, Because He Lives, is sung. Because of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, we have the ability to face all troubles and brokenness in this life can bring, and not only face them, but face them with joy. Thank you.